No. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Urbana-Champaign. My name is Reverend Sally Fritchie, and I serve as the Associate Minister of this congregation alongside our lead minister, Reverend Beth Monholland. We are a church of many different theologies and identities, united by a shared commitment to building community, seeking inspiration, promoting justice, and finding peace. Remember to look around at the color-coded lanyards of your neighbors. Be aware and respectful of others' needs and boundaries while we're together. We're a congregation of all ages, which means we embrace all the noises and needs and everything else that our different ages can bring into a Sunday morning. And as always, people of any age are welcome to get a coloring kit from the box in the entryway just near where the lanyards are. After our time for all ages this morning, our kids will be invited to head downstairs with their teachers for religious exploration classes. Here on Green Street, we worship on land that has been cared for and held sacred by the Kaskaskia, Miamua, Bodwe-Wadmi, Kickapoo, Peoria, and Oceti-Sakowin peoples, and was seized through violent and deceptive means. These indigenous communities still exist today and continue to fight for recognition, self-determination, and the preservation of our shared earth. It's especially important to acknowledge that history and those ongoing efforts in today's service, which is one focused specifically on a phenomenon taking place on this specific land. This service is a chance to reflect on something that we are all going to be experiencing in a couple weeks or so: the dual emergence of two periodic broods of cicadas. Although some cicadas emerge every year, there are subspecies that stay underground for long periods and emerge all at once every 13 or 17 years. And this year, a particularly populous 13th and 17th year happened to be overlapping, which hasn't happened since Thomas Jefferson was president of the United States, and won't happen again until 2245. So today, we're going to take some time together to mark this unique moment in the turning of our shared calendar. Give our full respect to some of the non-human sources of wisdom that we live alongside on this planet. If we are listening for the still small voice of God or the inner voice, cicadas are more like the screaming siren of God. My hope is that we will all leave today ready to hear that voice and experience the next few weeks with a little more understanding, curiosity, even awe than we otherwise would. So whether this is your first Sunday with us, or your 1,000th or 10,000th, whether you're here in the sanctuary or listening from the fellowship hall across the entryway where the audio is being piped in, or watching from afar at home or elsewhere, know that you are welcome here, and this service is for you. May you find in it something that you need. And now I'll invite all of us to take just a moment to turn in our seats and greet your neighbors. You might introduce yourself or simply nod if you don't feel like speaking. Shake hands, put your hands on your heart. We'll take a moment to greet each other, and I'll call us back together with a ring of our chime from up here. We begin each Sunday together by lighting a flaming chalice, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist tradition. If you're watching from afar and have a chalice or candle of your own to light, I invite you to do so now. Together, we'll create a warm circle of light and invite everyone to gather around it for this short hour together. I'll also note if those in the front row might feel a cool breeze emanating from the back of the sanctuary. That's our air conditioner. And there's a pretty good chance it will blow out our chalice at some point, which is, I think, the price we have to pay until we figure out how we're going to manage chalice placement over the summer. So just to forewarn us that it's not an omen. So we'll light our chalice this morning with a poem written by a New Mexico writer, Hosho McCreesh. It's called simply Cicada. He writes, "Sick of his own face, sick of his skin, of the dark, he crawls outside himself to sing, a better poet than most." May we kindle a flame today that will help all of us shed whatever dark we need to crawl out of. May we find our own way to sing. And now I will invite all of us to stand, if standing is comfortable for you, and join in singing a favorite hymn, one that honors the fact that we are all of us sharing the same planetary home, no matter our species. Number 1064 in the Teal hymnal, Blue Boat Home.
And I've asked a friend to help lead the hymn with me.
And I gladly accepted because I love this song.
Though below me I feel the motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor nor port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in a beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves are holding me, hail the great waves urging me on. Greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
Beautifully sung. Thank you, Janet and Jerry, and thank you to all of you. Now is the time in our service when we will tell a story or do something more engaging than just talking from the pulpit. And today we have a particularly great video to share provided by the talented actors of the DuPage County Forest Preserve District, just about 2 hours north of us. So enjoy.
Where we are in the life cycle right now is the cicadas are hiding right just below the soil surface and emerge when the temperatures are right. It's roughly around 64 degrees soil temperature. And they'll come out, crawl up trees or other inanimate objects like garages and stuff, and they will crawl out of their exoskeletal shell, which is the shell that they were in the nymph form, and they'll emerge as an adult. And at this point, they're soft-bodied. They're kind of white. They haven't really gotten their true colors yet. It takes about 2 to 3 days for their bodies to firm up, their new exoskeletons to firm up, and they become their true colors. They get to like a really dark brown, almost black color. Their wings become this really bright orange, which is very cool, and they'll have the distinctive red eyes. And after about a week after they emerge, the males will go crawl up to the tops of the trees and start singing to attract mates. And when they do this, the females will start to fly around them, and if they want to show that a male is, worthy of her, she'll flip her wings at him and they will mate.
Say, girl, if I was a fruit fly, I'd land on you first because you're so sweet.
And then the female cicada she'll lay her eggs on branches and even main stems or trunks. What she does is she cuts a groove into the branch to get to the vascular tissue of the tree. She'll lay her eggs into that groove. It's about 600 eggs, so it's quite a lot. And those eggs will then, after about 6 or 7 weeks, they'll hatch into very, very small nymphs. They're about the size of very small ants. And they'll start feeding on the sap flowing from that vascular tissue. And then they'll feed for a short period of time, and then they'll fall to the ground. They'll start burrowing into the ground and then start feeding on plant roots, both trees as well as like herbaceous plants. And then they'll hang out there really feeding and growing for the next 17 years. Then they will emerge in that 17th year. The nymphs will come back up to the surface of the soil, and the process starts over again.
Thank you. And I will say I reached out to the DuPage County Forest Preserve District to ask permission to use this, and they were thrilled to hear that they would be in a church service of all places. So at this point, I'll invite our children and volunteer teachers to come together at the back of the sanctuary and head downstairs for their religious exploration programming. Thank you. Have fun, you guys. Oh my gosh, the kids emerge from the back like cicadas emerging from the ground. All right, each Sunday here at UUCUC, we make space to share the joys and sorrows that we are carrying. We usually take a long pause with music to give folks time to write down any personal joys or sorrows that they wish to share, either on a card or in an email message to joysandsorrows@uucuc.org. Then I read out those shared messages so that we can celebrate each other's joyful news and support each other in grief. So during the pause, while folks are writing and music is playing, those who wish to can also come forward and take a moment at our altar table or at the table nearer the center of the sanctuary there under the clock. This Sunday, we have glass beads and flower petals you're invited to place into a shared vessel of water. The stones sink, or the glass beads sink to the bottom and ground us. The petals float and balance between water and air. Together, we'll hear our blessing song, Long Time Sun. While we listen and sing, you're invited to write the joys and sorrows you'd like to share, and you're invited to come forward to place your bead or flower and leave your card here on the altar.
within you. Guide your way home. May the long-time sun shine upon you. All love surround you, and the pure, pure light that's within you. Guide your way home. May the long-time sun shine upon you. All love surround you, and the pure, pure light that's within you. Guide your way home.
Thank you. And now I will invite two community members, Elissa and Alder, forward to share a reading from Joyful Noise, Poems for Two Voices by Paul Fleischman.
Afternoon, mid-August.
Two cicadas singing, air kiln hot, lead heavy. 5 cicadas humming,
Thunderheads northwestward.
12 cicadas buzzing. Up and down the street, the mighty choirs assembling.
Shrill
Cicadas droning in the elms.
3 years spent underground.
Among the roots,
In darkness. Now they're breaking ground.
And climbing up the tree trunks.
Splitting skins and
Singing, jubilant cicadas.
Rejoicing.
Pouring out their
Fervent
fervent praise
praise.
for heat and light,
Their
their hymn.
sung to the sun.
Cicadas whining,
whining,
cicadas whirring,
whirring,
cicadas pulsing,
pulsing,
chanting from the treetops, sending forth their booming, joyful
boisterous
noise.
joyful noise. Good job.
Thank you. The power teamwork, beautifully done. We as Unitarian Universalists know that our circle of care should not stop at our church doors. We are deeply connected to the community we are in and to the wider world. Please keep an eye on your weekly e-news newsletter for opportunities to show up, to find support, to get involved, and to be part of things here at UUCUC. I'll remind you that I have been holding weekly Vesper services right here at 8 p.m. every Tuesday. That's for the month of May, and it's not that they're going away forever after May, it's just that I won't be around regularly, so they'll come back in some form later. These are brief candlelit gatherings that are designed to be a chance to breathe and rest and just hold sacred space together every week. Also, remember to save the date. Sunday, June 2nd will be a very big Sunday for us. So it'll be our flower celebration, which means everyone should bring a flower to share. We'll have a big potluck picnic afterward, and then our annual congregational meeting after we're all fed and happy. So get that Sunday on your calendar now. And if you want to prepare and be a responsible and well-informed voter at the all-congregation meeting, you have the opportunity to attend some information sessions between now and then. There will be a session about the proposed budget this Wednesday at 7 p.m. online. There will be several opportunities to learn about our transition to a council governance model this Tuesday at 6 p.m., Saturday at 9:30 a.m., and then an online-only option on May 30th at 7 p.m. So remember, we are congregationally run, which means that the members vote on everything. Everything is in your hands, and it's up to you to know what you're voting for on June 2nd. On each Sunday, in recognition of our very real interdependence and reliance on one another, we pass the plate, take a collection, and share our offering with an organization doing the work of justice in the world. For our May Sundays, we're sharing our plate with Courage Connection, which is a local nonprofit that provides direct support, housing, and a 24-hour helpline for people experiencing domestic violence here in our area. You can give by text or through the online portal on our website, or if you're here in the sanctuary, the basket will be passed, and you can make out any checks to UUCUC and know that half of what you give will go towards sustaining work of this church. The other half will go directly to Courage Connection. I invite you to give whatever is generous for you. Know that no matter the amount, everything you contribute is gratefully received and will be put to use helping make a real impact right here in our community. The basket will now be passed. Ooh, and the crooners will come up to sing our offertory music. Thank you, crooners. Thank you, crooners. And Chris Hanauer reminded me that there is also a budget information session today, right after the service at 11:45. All right. Our shared joys and sorrows today. Oh, I'll get this one out of the way first. This one comes from Lisa Fritchie, my mother. It's my joy to wish Reverend Sally a very happy birthday today. Thank you. It is a happy birthday. Okay, we got lots more to get through, guys. A joy from Peggy White. At the onset of the pandemic, I began a doctoral program as a non-traditional student in my 60s. I'm thrilled to announce that I have graduated with a Doctor of Nursing Practice degree from Wichita State University. All right. A joy and sorrow from the Milan Bell family. We've accepted a new foster care placement. A sibling group of 4 came into care in late March. All siblings are currently split up. DCFS has been unable to find a home that can take all 4, and so looked for families who can take 2 and 2. Saria and Devin will be moving in with us on May 20th, tomorrow. We're saddened that a home for all 4 hasn't been found, but we're glad that at least these 2 will get to live together, and we're looking forward to having them join our family for however long they need. Wonderful. Let's see. A joy from Laureen Anderson, who writes, "Very happy to be back at my Green Street UU home after 10 years away. It's good to be home." From Dust, "I have a final today. Wish me luck." From Dr. Elizabeth Larson, "A joy. So excited to share that I finished my midwifery doctorate. Now to find my first job." From Jerry Carden, "As the team lead of our building and grounds team, I want to recognize the people that put the most effort into our recent air conditioning installation, especially Tim Volker and Andy Robinson, and the rest of the Baggett team, and all those who contributed to this special project. Thank you." From Dar, "I am now officially a wise older woman. Joined the WOW group and loved it. Amazing and heartwarming camaraderie." And she notes, "Know that this is an unsolicited comment." Thank you. We didn't slip you a $5 bill in order to promote WOW. A sorrow from, an anonymous sorrow. "This coming Wednesday, May 22nd, will be the 20th anniversary of the day I got married to the person I wanted to spend my life with. Each year, this used to be a day I looked forward to with great joy. At the moment, its approach is a time of grieving. Someday in the future, I hope it may again feel like a day of celebration. Thank you." A sorrow without a name. "As my mom, 90 plus years, is in a transitional phase, my sister struggles with this process. Send her grace as she comes to embrace transition. It is our process. I embrace the grace of transition." From Lindsay Sharp, "My Aunt Judy had 2 major strokes this week. She's awake and alert now, but has a long road ahead of her. Please send love her way." And a sorrow from Katie Goslin, "We learned a few weeks ago one of Sawyer's first preschool friends unexpectedly passed away. She was 5. My heart aches for her family and siblings. I see myself in them and cannot fathom their pain. Please keep this little girl and her family in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you." We take a deep breath together in honor and gratitude for all those willing to share their joys and their sorrows with us today. For all those who have joys that are too private or too new to share aloud, or sorrows too painful to speak in this space. Know that you are still held in the loving care of this community, and that when you are ready, we will be here to hold all that you cannot yet share. Now, I invite all of us to take the next moments to sit in prayer or meditation, finding your own way of honoring the joys and sorrows present here and in the world at large, as we hear this meditative music provided by Michael. Thank you. It was Ralph Waldo Emerson, a Unitarian minister and transcendentalist author, who wrote that the happiest man is he who learns from nature the lesson of worship. The happiest man is he who learns from nature the lesson of worship. And for those of us here in Central Illinois this spring, nature is about to teach us one very dramatic, very loud lesson in worship. The entomologists among us tell us we're about to be witness to an incredible event: the overlapping emergence of two of the biggest broods of periodic cicadas, amounting to billions, possibly even 1 trillion insects emerging from the ground across the United States, taking to the trees to sing and mate and lay their eggs. Many of us, myself included, might recall other cicada summers and so have an idea of what to expect. I remember the summer of '98 in mid-Missouri, when we could simply reach out and touch any tree trunk without looking and pick up a cicada. They were so completely covering every surface. And I remember the sound, the churning, that just was in the background of every conversation, and now in the background of every home video from that period. But rather than treating the coming cicadas as a menace or an inconvenience or as background noise, let's take just a moment today and consider the cicada as Emerson would have us consider it, as part of the lesson nature can teach us, as part of worship, worthy of our curiosity and attention. Beyond our own Unitarian Universalist forebears, this is a framework we might also find among many indigenous peoples. Robin Wall Kimmerer, a scientist and author of the Potawatomi Nation, whose writing has featured in services here before, writes that in the Western tradition, there's a recognized hierarchy of beings with, of course, the human being on top, the pinnacle of evolution, the darling of creation, but in native ways of knowing, human people are the younger brothers of creation. Humans have the least experience with how to live and must look to our teachers among the other species for guidance. Their wisdom is apparent in the way that they live. They teach us by example. They've been on the earth far longer than we have been and have had time to figure things out. So today, let's prepare to listen to our teachers, the cicadas. What wisdom will they have to share with us when they arrive? What example do they give us in the way that they live? I believe that they might teach us a great deal about transformation, patience, abundance, immortality, and the power of a collective voice. When humans are looking for insect metaphors for transformation, I find that butterflies seem to come to mind before cicadas. The story of a humble caterpillar that metamorphoses into a new, beautiful, iridescent form. There's less love for the strange body of the cicada, transforming from what looks like a giant flea to what looks like a giant fly. It lacks some of the romance and rainbow-hued beauty that might appeal to humans' vanity when we're reaching for insects we can relate to. But they do transform all the same. As in our chalice lighting words, crawling out of the dark, crawling out of their own skin in order to sing. A life stage that is itself poetry in action. And if you ever happen to come across a cicada while it is in the process of shedding that skin, you can see for yourself the effort it takes, the slow flex of strength to pull itself free, and then the soft, vulnerable little bug left at the end, waiting to become strong enough to fly. You might ask what it is that we need to crawl out of and leave behind, and how many of us in the course of our human lives have felt at some point the need to shed our skin, to split our life open along the back and crawl vulnerably out of it toward something new. a lesson in transformation. And maybe everyone already knew this, but I had to learn it fairly recently. They're not hibernating underground. These broods of cicadas that emerge every 17 or 13 years, they're not sleeping down there. They're not eggs that hatch after 17 years. The bugs we're about to meet are fully 17 and 13 years old. They are teenagers. All those years, they've been little wingless nymphs living in the dark, waiting for these handful of weeks when they would one day get to fly and sing and start the cycle again for the next generation. I mean, 17 years old. What was life like for you 17 years ago? I was finishing my sophomore year of high school, and George W. Bush was president. So a lot has happened in those bugs' lifetime. And all that time, these cicadas were here. They were just below our feet, a model of patience and persistence, secure in the knowledge that everything has its season, that their time was coming when they would burst out of the dark and cold, shed those old selves, and go screaming their song into the sky. It's that patience that keeps these periodic cicadas alive, because no population of potential predators, birds or wasps or squirrels or bats, can sustain themselves over those long 13 or 17-year gaps without finding some alternate form of prey in the meantime. The power of waiting, of surviving in the shelter of darkness and outlasting those who would threaten your existence. Another lesson, possibly, from our cicada teachers. And once they're out of the dark and are singing, flying, mating, laying eggs, the lesson in patience is done. And instead, cicadas seem to be the embodiment of hedonism and abundance. You only live once, and when you're a cicada, you only live for a couple more weeks. Once you're out of the ground, your time is short. There's actually a version of the beloved Aesop's fable of the hardworking ant and the carefree grasshopper, where the grasshopper is instead a cicada who wants to spend the summer on romance and music instead of hard work like his friend the ant. But the cicada never has to learn the lesson of a hard winter without any food stored, because it was never going to survive the fall. A lesson in seizing the moment, living in the now. As in the poem for two voices we heard earlier, jubilant, rejoicing cicadas, pouring out their fervent praise for heat and light. What would it look like and feel like to learn from that? To pour ourselves out into the world, holding back nothing, being generous with our time and joy, and singing even when others might think it frivolous or unwise. In truth, periodic cicadas really do represent an incredible, unlooked-for gift to the entire ecosystem when they arrive. They are abundance made physical. Their tunnels to the surface help aerate the soil. They don't threaten crops or other mature plants, but their egg-laying prunes the high branches of trees that can't be easily reached by regular grazers. Their shed skins fertilize the roots that they once fed on. They don't bite or sting. And their collective bodies, as they die off, represent an enormous calorie-rich boon to every part of the food chain, like manna raining down from heaven. The birds, squirrels, raccoons of our area, little do they know, are about to have a very good summer. And it feels a little comforting, I think, to know that our non-human neighbors, whose every waking moment is normally preoccupied with obtaining enough food, are about to experience a miracle, one they have no idea is coming. Reminds us that what seems like miraculous, impossible abundance can happen, does happen, is actually built into the rhythms of the natural world. In some places and times across human history, cicadas have been a symbol of something explicitly miraculous: immortality, resurrection. Over and over, they disappear, their bodies rotting away into the soil, only to emerge again years or decades later, singing the same familiar songs in the same familiar shape. Cicadas show up in ancient art worldwide. In the Mesoamerican Aztec Empire, they were part of some burial rites with a carved stone cicada placed in the mouth of the deceased. Cicadas are referenced in the ancient Homeric poem, the Iliad, as well as in the first novel ever written, The Tale of Genji, written by 11th century Japanese noblewoman Murasaki Shikibu. In that story, a lovesick poet describes his beloved delicately shedding her robe like a cicada sheds its skin. I've even seen an artifact myself in a museum from the year 300 BCE, a wreath made entirely of hammered gold, still as bright as anything, with a perfectly replicated, life-size, solid gold cicada perched among the leaves. I admit, given my theological leanings, leaning more towards atheism, literal immortality of cicadas doesn't resonate with me too much, but there is a different type of immortality that these stories and artifacts make me reflect on. I looked up a photo of that gold wreath that I remembered to refresh my memory and check if I had it right after so many years since I'd seen it in person. And there it was in the picture, a little gold cicada. So familiar, picture perfect, every tracery in its wings rendered exactly as if I had grabbed a cicada off a tree outside and cast it in gold. And I felt the foreshortening of history, the distance between past and present collapsing into nothing, the common thread between myself and an artist who more than 2,000 years ago saw exactly the same bugs that we're about to see and wanted to immortalize them in gold. Wanted someone else to see them as they did, as being worthy of looking at and remembering. It's not just that cicadas disappear and show up every several years, it's that they have done so for thousands and thousands of years, that they will continue to do so amid thousands, millions of different human societies, and they remain implacably cicadas, like the sunrise, a force beyond us, which we are lucky enough just to witness. And there's something there about what has the power to survive so much change. What will always come back, no matter how many times it's buried. The revolutionary poet Maria Elena Walsh, who was a queer Argentine author and musician working in the 20th century, wrote a song called Como la Cigara, like the cicada, about the irrepressible spirit of the fight for human rights and dignity. The English translation of one verse is, "So many times you were killed, many times you will come back to life. How many nights will you spend in desperation? And when you start drowning and darkness comes, somebody will rescue you and carry on singing. Singing to the sun like the cicada does after years under the ground, like a survivor who's coming back from war." And I think the cicadas might also have a lesson to teach us about collective action, about the power of a cause that cannot ever be fully killed, one that comes back like the cicada singing to the sun, the power of a combined voice that cannot be silenced. We learn from our cicada teachers that even the very small can raise their voices to an incredible volume, and especially when they are raising them together. They teach us that getting loud, getting really loud, is one way we can make ourselves impossible to ignore, can disrupt business as usual. When protesters' chants and drums are loud enough to be heard by the politicians, professors, or powerful people who would rather ignore them, that's cicada wisdom in action. Showing up all at once in numbers too big to dismiss is a form of power, even if all we do is sit and sing. For scale, a whisper is about 25 decibels, and a chainsaw held next to your ear is about 110. A tree full of cicadas synced up and singing together is closer to 120. That is about 1 to 10 times louder than a chainsaw. And you know, cicadas don't even have lungs or vocal cords. They're vibrating their whole bodies. So, okay, we're giving our due to cicadas this morning. You've stayed with me so far. We're lifting them up to the level of something that should be taken seriously, something that might inform our ability to work toward justice, to survive long periods of darkness, to break out of our own limiting shells and become something more. I do love an opportunity for theopoetics, but I'm also a practical-minded person, and if you're like me, part of you might still be thinking, okay, Sally, but there are about to be piles of dead bugs everywhere I step. There are going to be red-eyed, buzzing, creepy-legged giant bugs screaming at me from the trees every time I go outside. And there's only so much you can do to make that feel spiritual. So fair enough. If your reaction to seeing the emerging cicadas is one of fear or disgust or just tuning them out completely after reaching the level of overwhelm, you can feel certain that you aren't alone. There is definitely some deep mammalian part of our brain that recoils at the sight of swarming insects. And that actually brings us to my personal favorite lesson we might learn from our cicada teachers. It's not an abstract lesson, but a practicum in how to feel that instinctual dislike, that disgust or fear, and still retain proximity, still reach out in curiosity and openness. They're giving us a chance to practice managing our own reaction to something that feels gross or alarming. Our brains are trying to protect us from real threats when we flinch away from bugs, the pain of bites and stings, or the danger of disease or parasites. But we don't have to obey that instinctual reaction, because in the case of cicadas, we know that they won't hurt us. We can power through and appreciate their brief presence in our world for what it is, not a threat, but a once-in-a-lifetime phenomenon. How many of humanity's worst qualities spring from that instinctual disgust of that which is unlike us? Fear that something might hurt us, and an unwillingness to stay long enough to find out for sure whether it will. And yeah, I'm not just talking about bugs. These next couple months, if the numbers live up to what's predicted, we will all have countless opportunities to encounter these fellow travelers on planet Earth, crawling, flying, swarming, screaming everywhere we go. Every time we do, we'll have a chance to re-see them, not with disgust or impatience, but something closer to respect, interest, even awe. People traveled just last month to see the total eclipse of the sun passing over our state, and people are traveling, believe it or not, to see the cicadas emerge here too. Like the eclipse, we might let this be a communal experience alongside the entire ecosystem we share with life here, human and otherwise. Let this be another opportunity to be humbled by something beyond us, humbled by the scale of life outside our own concerns, life that is counted in the trillions. There was an evolutionary biologist who once quipped that if a creator God exists, he is inordinately fond of beetles. And while cicadas are not beetles, the point stands. Humanity can do with the occasional reminder that we are not necessarily the main characters in Earth's story. And this spring and summer, we will get the chance to be in the role of grateful, awestruck audience, rather than star on the stage. All we need is to be willing to pay attention. So this is my cicada prayer for all of us. May we be transformed. May we shed the parts of us that do not suit the world we are emerging into. May we be patient. May we know when the time is right. May we live abundantly and with joy. May we bless the world with our presence. May we survive and be revived even when all seems to have dwindled away to nothing. May we weave connections across time and culture. May we join our voices, be loud when we need to be. May we stay curious and open in the face of our own discomfort. And may we learn from nature the lesson of worship, of seeing what is worthy and singing its praises without reservation. May we all carry a little cicada wisdom today and every day. Amen. And with that, I will invite us to stand, if standing is comfortable for you right now, and join in singing our closing hymn, number 163, in the gray hymnal, For the Earth Forever Turning. We close our time today by extinguishing our chalice with these words from UU Minister Reverend Elizabeth Sally Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Amen. And when you go, go in peace. Thank you.